I'm Bart, founder at Get2Chain. We're a software development company using the blockchain to build enterprise solutions. After some years of experience, I can tell you, if you really want to understand blockchain, you may consider to understand Bitcoin first. It will save you a lot of time and money. There's a lot of confusion and bad actors in this space, but it's simple. Bitcoin is a fixed protocol described in the white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. BTC and other implementations are splits. They moved away from the Bitcoin protocol years ago. That's the reason they don't scale. They are broke. It's easy. You change the protocol, you are not Bitcoin. Luckily, Bitcoin is still alive. It's following the original fixed protocol, scaling on-chain to billions of transactions per second, and it complies with existing laws and regulations. It's unique, and it's called BSV Blockchain, honoring his creator, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Probably this year, you will hear a lot of noise about Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, the technology is there. It matters and talks by itself. I encourage you to understand and test the superiority, by far, of this technology. Other options, including Solana, Ethereum, Algorand, and any other attempt to have a real blockchain at scale, are not even close. During this video series, we will cover from the protocol to the tools, libraries, to some apps powered by BSV Blockchain. Today, we will take a look to the basis of the protocol, starting with an interview with Thomas Giacomo, director at the BSV Association. Hello, Thomas. Thank you for your support. Thank you for allowing this event. We are really grateful to the Spanish community. I have some questions for you. Just if you can introduce yourself just a little bit to the people know.
So my name is Thomas. I'm a director at the BSV Blockchain Association. I'm responsible about the open source development of some of the infrastructure components, including Arc, Light Client, the Overlay node. We can also start the Maker service connected Light Client to Overlay node and the library project.
What's the role of the BSV Association?
The association is the open source body of the ecosystem, meaning that we are what the Linux Foundation is for operating systems. We have different activities. The first one is to set up and host the different open source programs of the different infrastructure components of the BSV blockchain. So I was mentioning Arc, Light Client, Overlay node, Merkle service, but there is also Terra node, which will come next year. The second pillar is an education pillar. We are releasing different lessons on our BSV Academy website. We are also partnering with universities, but also with organizations to make sure that we educate not only the tech people, but the business people about how to implement the technology. The third pillar is a standardization pillar. We are setting up, thanks to the technical standard committee, the different standards. We just released this year the BRC GitHub repository. So everyone will be able for now to just participate to this GitHub repository, propose standards, and debate the standard that should be adopted within the ecosystem. We also have some lobbying activities. We are discussing with central banks, governments, enterprises to make sure that they understand how to, for instance, develop their own central bank digital currency using our technology, but also for organizations, enterprises, and so on, about identifying if blockchain is relevant for their business and then how to implement it. And our role is to really be the platform between these stakeholders and companies of the ecosystem to make sure that we make this bridge to leverage the knowledge and the skills of the companies of the ecosystems.
Why do you think BSV is different from other blockchain protocols out there?
Our goal is to be the cheapest, the fastest, and the most secure blockchain on Earth. This is our goal. To do that, we would like to reach 1 million transactions per second by December 2024. We are currently, our current average is 5,000 transactions per second. We have a capacity of 50,000. In order to compare with existing network, the Visa network has a capacity of 60,000, but runs at 20,000 transactions per second. The reason why we fix this objective so high is that we not only want to rebuild the international payment system, but we also want to rebuild the internet. And because of the majority of the flow of the internet is the video, we need to make sure that our capacity will be at least 10 times than Visa, right? That's the first the first requirements that we have for our infrastructure, but also to compete with other blockchains. With the merge of Ethereum, they should be able to reach 100,000 transactions per second. So if we reach 1 million transactions per second by December 2024, we will be at least 10 times better than Ethereum, which is the number one rule in technology. You have to be at least 10 times better than the second to win the race, right? So that's really important for us to be the fastest blockchain on Earth. We are already among the cheapest blockchain on Earth, with mining fees at 0.503 dollars. So if you compare with all the different blockchains, we are among, if not the cheapest blockchain on Earth. And there is a long-term strategy of the different miners to keep the fees low to foster the adoption. So that's the second most important pillar, the cost of the blockchain. And the third one is the security. So in terms of security, the Bitcoin Association is the steward of the protocol. And because we are the steward of the protocol, our role is to protect the protocol and to make sure that we are setting up clear rules of the network to enhance honest behaviors, right? And if you enter the network, it's a permissionless blockchain, so anyone can join, but you have to respect certain rules to make sure that the blockchain is secure, right? So that's our role at the association, and that's one of the most important pillar that we have, is that we are the steward of the protocol, and because of that, we are ensuring the security of the blockchain. So these are really our three main goals, and this is how BSV is different than the other chain, because we are fastest, cheapest, and most secure than any other blockchains.
That's interesting. For me as a developer, I think that this is really, really important to have a fixed protocol. So why do you think that fixed protocol is so key? Because we are a unique blockchain protocol that want to do that.
To answer quickly to that question, the reason why the protocol has to be fixed is that if we change the protocol all the time, then as an application builder, you're going to have to change your application. And you don't want that. The reason why the internet or the Web 2 has been so powerful is that the underlying protocol TCP/IP has been fixed. And it's because of that internet was adopted at a large scale. So we BSV want the Bitcoin protocol to be what TCP/IP has been to Web 2. So Bitcoin will be the fixed protocol for the adoption of Web 3.
Just in legal terms, what do you think, because people confuse a little bit anonymity with privacy, what do you think this is important?
Internet was a great evolution. Internet was the revolution of information. Blockchain will be the revolution of value. So if you want to revolution the value, you have to make sure that you build a technology which is legally binding. Legally binding meaning that you have to link a blockchain identity to a real-world identity through what we call digital identity or blockchain-based digital identities managed and issued by states. Right? That's the goal of what we want to build. So there was a lot of misconception because when people saw the public keys or the different addresses in blockchain, they thought that we should not be able to link this blockchain address to a real-world address. This is not the case. Actually, we should be able to link a blockchain-based digital identity to a blockchain address, but we should not be able to guess what is the real-world identity based on the blockchain address, right? So you should be able, when you see the blockchain, to not be able to recognize which transaction belongs to who. But if you have an issue because you just bought a car and you want to make sure that you sell your car, you will be able to prove that your real-world identity is linked to the blockchain address who has performed the transaction, right? So it has to be just in one way and not in both ways, right? So we have to be able to show the proof of the link between a blockchain digital identity and the blockchain identity, but not the other way around.
In line with that, I think it is important just to clarify maybe a little bit the difference between possession and ownership, because people think that it's the same. But in the real world, in the normal cases, possession is totally different from ownership. Can you explain a little bit that?
There was a rule called not your coin, not your key, not your coin, right? And what it means is that it's because you own the keys that own the assets within the wallet that you own the coins. But that is not true, because if you lose the key allowing you to access your assets, and another one just steal your key, the other person won't be able to be the owner of your asset. So imagine that you are, if you have the keys of your car, if someone steals the key of your car, it doesn't mean that he owns the car, right? So that's exactly the same idea. So what we want is to make sure that, and that's also something that we are implementing at the association, we are implementing the alert key system or the digital asset recovery mechanism, allowing through a court order to make sure that the owner of a digital asset would be able to retrieve his digital asset. That's a really important topic for the ecosystem, because we hope that it will foster the adoption from a legal perspective, and it will be adopted by different governments and different regulators to make sure that BSV is adopted.
I hope people can understand these key concepts, because otherwise it's difficult to understand what's doing with blockchain and the space in general. So thank you for being here, Thomas, and really a pleasure to host you here, and hope you see you soon.
Thank you.
Few words first about the association. So we are currently transitioning the association to be the open source body of the ecosystem, to be what the Linux Foundation is for operating system. We would like to, we are currently setting up open source requirements for different infrastructure components. When I talk about infrastructure components, we're going to cover it later. I talk about Terra node, overlay node, Arc, Light Client, Merkle service, and we're also taking care about the libraries. So these are the main infrastructure components allowing BSV to run. With the new network topology, which is not the case today. We're going to cover it later. So this is the first pillar that we cover, to host different open source programs together with companies or developers of the ecosystem. The second one, which is very important, is we are the steward of the protocol, meaning that we protect the protocol against forks, but also to make sure that when players enter the ecosystem, they respect the rules of the networks, right? So we are fostering and we are welcoming people, but these actors has to play aligned with the different rules of the ecosystem. So that's the second pillar. We're going to cover it later in a more detailed way. The third part is that, and that's the reason why we are all here today, is we would like to build strong ecosystem, both locally and internationally. We would like to leverage all local communities to make sure that this kind of workshop will happen more often. And for us, this kind of workshop is very important because of this kind of workshop, and thanks to Bart, who is our ambassador in Spain, to make sure that we can organize such a workshop, because it allows us to gather feedback coming from you guys and directly to include it into our roadmap at an infrastructure level, but also at an association level. The third part is an education pillar. We have our BSV Academy. We're going to reshape the UX UI next year to make sure that it's a little bit more appealing, but still the content is here today already. We are partnering with different universities across the world to make sure that we spread the knowledge about BSV, both at a technical level and at a business level. So at technical level, we would like to partner with university to set up a lot of BSV programs, but at the business level, we also would like business stakeholders to understand if blockchain is relevant for an organization and how to implement blockchain, which is also very important for the adoption of the technology, because without this layer, it's complicated to penetrate the organization layer. And the last one is our standardization pillar. We are setting up, we are not, but we are also counting on you to help us to structure our standards. We've launched this year the BRC GitHub repository. So we are welcoming all contributions to debate on standard on specific items. And then our goal at the association is to directly implement this standard into different reference implementations, such as the Bucks reference wallet reference implementation, for instance. So these are our main pillars, the way we are structured at the association, and these are our strategic goals for next year. So the first one is that we would like the network to reach 1 million transactions per second. You've heard a lot about that. This will come with Terra node, but Terra node won't be enough, right? We have to make sure that other infrastructure components will be aligned with the scalability of Terra node. So you will have at the core of the network Terra node, and then you will have specialized nodes called overlay nodes linked to Arc, the transaction processor, the Light Client Toolbox implementing SPV through the wallet reference implementation, and a Merkle service between the overlay node and the Light Client Toolbox. So this new network topology would allow the BSV blockchain to scale and to reach 1 million transactions per second at the end of next year. And the next step will be to reach 5, and so on and so on. So that's the first step. So the first strategy goal is scalability strategy goal. The second objective is related to the network availability. We would like to reach along the year 100% network uptime. The third one is really important, is to make sure that we are aligned with the white paper. And we're going to explain the different steps to reach that point, because today there were gaps within the development of some of the components of the infrastructure and the white paper. So our job is to identify these gaps and to make sure that we are restoring the original version of the Bitcoin, which is still not the case today. That's why we are also changing a lot of infrastructure components this year and next year. The fourth strategy goal is related to adoption. So we have an objective to onboard 5 non-BSV companies, hopefully large one, to make sure that they will leverage the benefits of the BSV blockchain to solve real-world problems. And then we would like as well to onboard 2 governments or public entities and more than 6,000 developers. That's our goal for next year. And obviously, a lot of things change during this year. So we are currently also ourselves in the transition period to make sure that we would be able to reach these goals. The last one is to make sure that BSV, the brand BSV blockchain, is more known outside the ecosystem. So we have an objective of 300% the more coverage than last year. So these are our strategic goals for next year. And it's important also for us to share it with you, because for us, you are our customers, right? So it's important that we share the goal of what we would like to achieve. And we would like also to break down these goals to make sure that we provide you the flexibility that you need to build applications, right? So that is very important for us. This is our roadmap for the last quarter of the year and next year. So as you can see, we are currently, I'm gonna go line by line. So related to Arc, we are presently in public beta, and we would like to launch Arc in production environment by December. Along the way, we're gonna have a lot of work to do on Arc, because we're going to have to adapt Arc to, we already adapted Arc to Light Client, but also adapt Arc to other infrastructure components along the year, right? When we're going to launch in production environment, only miners will run Arc, but progressively we will encourage application builders to run their own Arc instance. That will come along the year. We are targeting Q1. The second line is related to our library project. So as I'm sure you all noticed, the libraries are kind of the mess in the BSV blockchain. Also, the goal is to unify, consolidate, maintain, complete all the libraries of the ecosystem. We have started on the 1st of November with the TypeScript JavaScript library. We're going to deliver the library in Q1. We are targeting January, and then we're going to move to the Go library and make sure that we are consolidating everything into BSV. The current name is the Bitcoin SV, but the BSV GitHub repository. That's the goal of the library project. Progressively, we're going to tackle all the different libraries. Now we're going to start only with JavaScript and Go, because JavaScript is one of the most used, and Go is quite used also in the ecosystem. And then we're going to tackle additional libraries. Regarding Light Client, so Light Client is very important for the ecosystem because it is the implementation of the SPV. What we did this year is that we bought Bucks, the wallet, because Bucks already implemented 70% of Light Client. So we completed the implementation of the Light Client toolbox within Bucks, and we release it. We are keeping the Bucks wallet reference implementation open source. So the goal will be that the different wallet providers will have the ability, first option, to just make sure that they are aligned with the way Bugs is architect and implement the Light Client Toolbox, or they can just plug and play on Bugs, because we're going to also maintain Bugs, the open source version of Bugs, to allow wallet providers to plug onto it. And then along the way, we're going to also add a Merkle service. There is a dependency between the Merkle service and the overlay node. So I'm going to tackle the overlay node one first. So as I just mentioned, and Darren will dig into it, the first huge component that we tackle is Terranode. And on top of Terranode, we are building overlay nodes. So we had to make sure that we first have a clear view of Terranode before starting the overlay node. So that's why we are starting currently the overlay node project, because of the dependencies with Terranode. So our goal with the overlay node is between now and the end of February to scope overlay node and to realize a proof of concept. We're going to use a stablecoin in Uganda use case to make sure that we are building a proof of concept and an overlay node with real business requirements, right? That between now and February. And after February, we're going to build the MVP of the overlay node and roll out the overlay node later on in the year. The reason why the roadmap is like that is that there were a lot of dependencies with Terranode, so we had to wait a little bit. So once the overlay node is scoped, we will be able to start the Merkle service. Again, we'll dig into it later. The Merkle service will be the link between overlay node and the Light Client Toolbox. Because it is because of this Merkle service that the full implementation of SPV linked to overlay node will be possible. And same step, POC, proof of POC and MVP and rollout. That's for the what we call the utilization value stream, which is the value stream that we are leading with Degen. Now, if we tackle the provisioning value stream, which is mainly the node software, we are going to enter into the transition period next year, when you're going to have SV node and Terranode running at some point in parallel. Regarding Terranode, we changed the team at the beginning of the year to build another iteration of Terranode. We reached 1.3 million transactions per second proof of concept earlier this year. And now we are starting to run 1 million tests continuously for 6 months to make sure that we validate a lot of hypotheses. Once these 6-month tests will be done, we're going to build the MVP and roll out Terranode. That's why, as you can see, a lot of dependency, because we have to make sure that first Terranode will be properly tested to make sure that the other components will be able to be delivered, right? So all the teams are working in parallel. So we have a lot of small and agile teams working in parallel, and our job is to identify dependencies and making sure that all the components fit between each other. So as you can see, you will have a period during which Terranode and SV node might run in parallel, but there will be a proper decommission plan for SV node later on, not this year, but the year after. So that's for the core component of the infrastructure. The stewardship value stream is everything related to our role as stewards of the protocol. So the first goal is to make sure that we are aligned with the white paper. So we would like to restore the original version of the white paper. So what we are doing between now and the end of the year is that we are documenting everything to identify gaps. Once all the gaps are identified, we would like to restore the protocol and to make sure that from a tech perspective, it will be properly implemented. We aim at the end of June to finalize this work, but obviously there will still be work, but the majority of the work will be done by the end of June. The alert key system, which is an important topic, and we discuss it with Bart, will be the ability with a court order to take back the digital asset that you own and with which you might have lose your private keys, right? So the association will be an agent of the network to make sure that thanks to a court order, we will provide the ability to take back the digital assets if a court decides that you are the owner. This is a very important feature for the ecosystem, because based on the feature, we are currently thinking that there will be way more adoption because this is legally binding, right? So that is a really important piece of the ecosystem to get the enterprise and the government adoption, because you cannot go to see a bank or a large enterprise and let them know if you lose the key, you lose 10 million Swiss francs, right? So that's why this is an important part of the ecosystem. The go live is supposed to be in March. We are currently working on the MVP version. The NOC MVP. So the NOC, it's a network operating center. Sorry, is our ability to monitor the network and to check that everything is in order. Maybe I won't go line by line everything, but unilateral contract is we want to make sure that when people enter the network, they respect the rule of the networks, basically, and so on and so on. From a public outreach perspective, as you can see, we have different discussion with different organizations. Our role is not to perform some business development activities, but we are currently discussing with Gartner, for instance, to be listed as a competitive blockchain provider, and we are acting as a facilitator for companies of the ecosystem to make sure that BSV blockchain will be mentioned in major reports to facilitate your business development activities. And obviously, we are present in a lot of events this year and next year. And next year, we will be present at a lot of tech events. We act on this topic as a platform. So if you are a company and you are interested, please reach out to us. We have a BSV blockchain booth, and we present companies solving real world problems. On the marketing and education side, on the marketing, this event is an illustration of all the artwork performed by the marketing activity. There is a huge emphasis on the communities this year and next year to leverage local communities and to make sure that thanks to the different players wanting to get involved, we're going to help and support these actors to leverage the local aspect of the community. And for instance, this is an example, but as we discussed with Ramon yesterday, we have also to make sure that because we cannot run this kind of event every month, we have different levels of engagement to allow the leverage of the community to be scalable in all the cities of the world, right? So we are working on it, and please, I know that we discussed a lot this weekend this topic, so please, if you have ideas and so on, we are willing to receive them and to make sure that we can follow up on them. From an education perspective, as mentioned, we are going to reshape our BSV Academy website to make sure that it's a little bit more appealing. By the way, in addition to the BSV Academy website, we're going to also reshape the BSV blockchain website, because today there are different websites, and sometimes the feedback that we receive is it's a little bit messy to find information. So we're going to make sure that for different users, you will have the information that you're looking for. So that's a project that we're going to start in January. And from an educational perspective, so in addition to the online courses, we also are partnering with different universities, as I mentioned before, to participate in existing lectures or to create custom-made courses for universities. But one of the main objectives of our strategy is to participate in existing computer science courses, marketing courses, whatever, to just bring the technology in addition to an existing lesson. So that's the goal of education. We would like also to partner with prestigious university like Stanford or Cambridge to access the EDX platform and to make sure that you will be able to find BSV courses on this platform. So that's a different project that are handled by the education team. And from a legal and more compliant aspect, we can argue that the protocol restoration is also legal, but we, from an association perspective, will add an ISO certification because we think that it might help you to close deals. Because if the industry organization is ISO certified, we think that it will help you when you're gonna talk with banks, central banks, and so on to close deals. So that's why we would like to add this certification. So this is our roadmap for next year. Well, I didn't go into details, but obviously this is way more details than this one. But it was important just for us to at least provide you a first snapshot about our goals and the breakdown of these goals into next year to provide visibility. What we're going to do is that we're going to publish this roadmap publicly. We are currently finalizing the implementation of everything into Jira and adding the plugin of Jira to our website to make sure that you will have the ability to follow up on this roadmap. And especially related to the infrastructure components, because these are the main topics that impact you. And we think that it's important for us to be transparent on this one, to enable you to build better products. So one of the main criteria used by organization, enterprises, governments is the speed of a network, right? Number of transactions per second. Obviously, it's not the only criteria. I'm going to cover some of the criteria later. But today, we are better than other chain on this criteria, but to reach the objective that we would like to reach is not enough. The goal of the blockchain is to not only rebuild the internet, but rebuild the international payment system. The internet being composed at 80% of video, the volume that you need to handle as a blockchain platform should be way, way more than Visa, for instance. So if Visa is at 24,000 transactions per second, actually Visa has a capacity to increase the number of transactions per second to 60,000 per second. We would like to reach at least 1 million. Next year, as I just mentioned, in December 2024, and then 5, and then we're going to increase. But actually, we have no choice to go that way, because if we really want to deliver our promise to rebuild internet and the international payment system, that's the kind of level that we will need. So that's why our goal of next year to reach the 1 million transactions per second. But as I just mentioned, we already perform a proof of concept validating the technical feasibility of it. So it's not like we want to reach that goal and we won't be able to reach it. We already validated a certain number of hypotheses. But as I mentioned earlier, as you can see, there are a lot of dependencies between different infrastructure components. So that will be the tricky part for us. So we are fully aware about the complexity of it, and we will do our best to deliver this objective next year. But as I mentioned, we also want to publish the roadmap, because if there are some changes into the roadmap, we would like you to be updated as soon as possible, right? That's also the goal of the transparency that we would like to reach. Just a snapshot of the different criteria used to compare the different blockchain. If you want to deal as an application builder with customers such as governments or other enterprises, etc., the 3 main criteria are speed, cost, security, right? Then we can enter into all the different criteria, but these are the main ones, right? Speed, cost, security. So in terms of speed, we have an average transaction per second at 5,000 transactions per second. We have a capacity of 50,000. We would like to reach 1 million. So that's the roadmap for the speed. In terms of cost, we are already one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest. The different miners of the ecosystem reduce their fees to 1 sat per kilobyte, meaning $0.503, which is the cheapest blockchain that you can find. And if it's not the cheapest, the miner will lower the fees again, just to make sure that we are the cheaper. So that's really important, because when you want to close a deal, this is one of the main arguments that you will bring on the table, the cost, right? So that's why in the coming years, the miners have a strategy of low fees, and it will remain like that. So that's the second criteria. The third criteria is the security. So there are a lot of misconceptions about what is decentralization and what is not. If you want to reach 1 million transactions, you cannot have 1,000 miners. At the maximum, you will have between 10 and 15 miners. Because again, 1 million transactions per second, the cost to run this kind of infrastructure will be so high that it doesn't make sense to have 1,000 miners. So the the misunderstanding about the decentralization is that a lot of people thought, oh, the more we have miner, the more the decentralized the blockchain is, and the more secure the blockchain is, which is not exactly the case. As a steward of the protocol at the association, and we are making sure that all the terms and conditions of the network, for all the rules of networks are included into the terms and conditions of the open source version of the network. To make sure that if you want to enter the network, you have to respect this rule. If you don't respect this rule, you are not able to continue to act within the network. There are a lot of criticism about this kind of behavior, because one of the criticism was, yeah, but it's not a public blockchain anymore. Yes, it is. The definition of a public blockchain is the ability to enter the network and to go out from the network. But you have to respect the rule of the network as any network, right? So that's that is our role within the ecosystem, to be as the association, the steward of the protocol, and with the alert key and the DAR mechanism, also the ability with a court order to take back the assets if you are the owner of the asset. That was also important for us to make sure that we provide a snapshot about where do we stand against the other chains, because at the end, if we want to bring digital scarcity in an ecosystem, you have to have one chain. If not, you don't have digital scarcity anymore, and you have the risk to duplicate it. And the more you add layer, the less security you have. So we are competing to be the one chain at the end. So that's why we have such ambitious goal, and we are hoping that we're going to also leverage your energy to make sure that we're going to reach that goal together, because one of our main objective this year is to be more open to the ecosystem, and to make sure that we will be able to leverage the involvement of different people of the ecosystem, both physically and technically. And finally, this is a document that we've just it's not released yet, but we are working on the document. So this is the Gartner framework categorizing all the different entities of a Web3 ecosystem. As we mentioned earlier, on the association side, our main objective is the number of transactions per second. That's clear. But it's not only this objective which is important. If you want to get adoption, you have to have a lot of entities dealing with different services. And if you don't have this kind of snapshot, and if you have holes in some of these components, then it will be complicated to have adoption. So we are encouraging. So if we miss some of the companies, please reach out to us, to the association directly, to make sure that you are listing within this framework. And our goal is to welcome to welcome any company who would like to leverage the scalability benefits of the BSV blockchain, and to build a real world problem. We are at an inflection point when we really need to go outside and to take real world problem and to solve real world problem with the technology, and not the other way around. From a technical perspective, from a developer perspective, we are a lot of time at this level, almost at an infrastructure or at a middleware layer, which is okay. But the next step will be to welcome application level at both a BTC, B2B and B2C level, to make sure that we solve real world problem, right? That's why we are, from an education perspective, also discussing with university to identify whether or not the technology is relevant for existing business. So we currently have 350 companies within the ecosystem, which is a good start. Let's put it like that. Now we have to push. So we're going to push on the association side, on the infrastructure level, to make sure that we're going to bring the best infrastructure possible. And obviously, we are welcoming any company who would like to benefit the blockchain technology to participate and to reach out to us to make sure that we list them within this framework. It will also allow the different companies to better connect between each other. So that's the goal of this framework as well. That's it for the association. So we have different topics to cover. We're gonna cover our client and the library project. Maybe before we enter into the next the next topics. Do you have any question on the first part? Because then it will be a little bit more technical.
On the slide you had for Ethereum proof of stake, you had between 15 and 20 transactions per second, but I think the Ethereum 2.0, that's changed now. Just wanted to ask that question about the slide.
So good catch. So yeah, you're right. So the current the current transaction per second for Ethereum is 1520. With proof of stake and the merge, it will be between 30,000 and 100,000. That's why we want to reach 1 million, because if you want to win in any technological space, you have to be at least 10 times better than the second. So that's why also this number of 1 million, to make sure that we're going to beat the competition by far, right? But you're right. Thank you. Good catch.
So Thomas, first of all, thanks for being here, because you motivate all people here to improve their self for the future. So my question is about the roadmap. Is it that something that is private or is already public?
So except the board of the association, you are the first ones to see it. So that was also important for us to come today with the roadmap. Again, we are in the middle of the transition period. So we would like to be more open, more transparent, and so on. So that's why it's important to come today with the roadmap. What we are currently doing is that we would like to have the public Jira roadmap all the time on our website. We are finalizing different stuff, such as plugins and so on, just to make sure that we're going to be able to publish it. But in the future, we would like first to publish it publicly, because we would like to bring this transparency. And we're going to also organize some monthly, so we are not sure if it will be monthly or quarterly online all-hands with different players of the ecosystem to report on our delivery and to also identify if there are gaps, because the roadmap, as we all know, might change. But the goal obviously is not to change the roadmap. But if there are some changes within the roadmap, we would like also to make sure that we update the ecosystem as soon as possible. Thanks to this, I think it will be we are targeting monthly online meeting with the ecosystem to make sure that we can better interact. There will be also a slot reserved for different companies who would be able to come to this meeting and to just present what they do. And of course, if you have other ideas for the agenda of this kind of meeting, we are happy to receive your feedback.
I was going to add some comments there, just to say that at least everything other than the current implementation of Terranode is being developed open source. So although the roadmap that you showed isn't public yet, we're working towards that, as you said, but the code itself is. So you can see all the commits going into Arc. That's being done publicly. It's an open GitHub repository. So Bitcoin-SV/Arc. You can see all the work that's been going on there, and continue to follow the PRs that are being merged. Just recently, we introduced a public file that captures the changelog, public changelog. So you can see stuff that's been implemented that isn't live in production yet, in terms of released as a version. And yeah, that will detail all the sort of updates. And yeah, just take the opportunity to say thank you for the input that those in the room have made already, contributions-wise, in reviewing Arc over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, we've been improving it based on that. So appreciate it.
If you as a node are not building blocks, you are not a node. You are just losing your time and money.